stuff of the sheets and whatnot. The questions.
He's already got the email. Have away.
Should have brought it just in case. It's you who did this to me, mother. I think I looked better with a clear face. Yeah, alright. No more pop. Okay.
Okay. Good morning. Hello, Mr. Kardash. How are you?
Excellent. How are you doing?
Good. I'm Rebecca, and you know Logan.
Come on in.
Thank you.
You can choose wherever you want to sit. Don't worry.
Okay.
There are no preferential seating arrangements here. And I do apologize for the clutter. I'm
It's okay.
trying to work through everything before the end of the year.
Yeah, it's coming up real
And I'm
quick.
getting down the list. So, I understand that you have a concern about the assignment that was put forth in
Anthropology.
Miss Morrison's class. How about we start with Logan? You tell me what your concern was.
Well, there's multiple ones.
Okay, let me hear.
The actual, sort of like the material itself, like white privilege.
Okay.
And the way it was being put across, as in, like, this is a factual thing, is how it felt.
So when I look at the assignment sheet, I don't see that, but go on.
It's being put across, like, you're privileged because you're white, or you have a certain privilege because you are male.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that is kind of racist to determine, like, how someone is doing financially or economically based on their race or their gender.
Okay.
And also, when I would try and bring it up and say, you know, I think this is racist or something, she would kind of shut me down, saying, coming from a white male himself.
Yeah, that I apologize for. That comment, you know, that does silence a student. That kind of comment, and that's, you know, and I've talked to her about that. And she regrets making that comment because she recognizes that it did silence you. It didn't give you your voice. But did you read through the questions on the assignment?
Yes, I did.
So when you read through the questions, what do you see in terms of what goes on in the classroom for everybody to discuss?
Well, I am aware of that one question that says, what do you disagree with in this?
Mm-hmm.
But it says, what do you disagree with? Not, do you disagree with this philosophy or belief?
Well, what do you disagree with allows you to say, I disagree with this philosophy. Right? Does it not?
I'd say, yeah.
Okay. So,
but the wording is kind of iffy.
I understand, but you know, there may be aspects. I don't know. Did you take the time to read it?
I did read the article.
Okay.
And have read through the questions. Yes.
Okay. So the question 4, where it says if there's stuff in here of the 26 conditions that you disagree with, what are they and why?
It also says, what do you agree with? As in, like, you have to agree with it.
There may be things that you do agree with out of the 26 conditions. There may not be.
My question is, instead of talking about that, what about the counter argument about...
Well, when they had the class discussion, they had the counter argument. There were lots of kids that had differing perceptions on it. But you didn't attend that class. And that is the problem. Like, you chose not to attend. And that's where they had the rich discussion, where all these different viewpoints were presented in the classroom and discussed and debated. When you're teaching a course like anthropology, it's about presenting opposite points of view.
But where's the material she handed out is what I'm
Well,
asking.
this is the first portion
Right.
of that whole group of material. The stuff that you provided was very good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jay Fraze is an articulate young economist. I get that.
But I'm saying, where's the information that the teacher handed out?
Yeah, there is no counter argument presented. There is only the one side presented, and it's kind of biased.
I understand what you're saying there, and that's where you have a voice in that class, where you can say, when you're in there, say, well, I have a clip that I think you guys could enjoy watching. It's 3-5 minutes. You can choose either one of the two, and say, well, why don't we take a look at this?
But where is it in the school? If the school is handing this out, where's the counter argument for the white privilege?
It comes from the student voice.
But what if there is no
Well,
student voice?
this is where you have an opportunity to articulate that you agree or disagree. Just like Shakespeare. You may agree with Shakespeare, you may not. You may agree with To Kill a Mockingbird, you may not. But they don't present an opposite perspective. They present one, and now we get to talk about that. And we get to go through each of these things. You can present the quadratics equation, and somebody could dispute that with a polynomial argument. They're not going to present, you would mire yourself in a myriad of arguments. If students want to discuss it, that's where you go with it. And that's how good teaching works. Like, you present something and you want to provoke. You want to provoke a conversation. You want to provoke questions. And if students articulate that, then the teacher can explore that and provide them with information that would...
What is the purpose for this information? What is the purpose for this being as part of the curriculum?
To discuss this as an ideology. Nothing more than that. Just like everything else. You've had various ideologies presented to you throughout the semester in that course. Right?
Correct.
Right. Do you believe all of those various ideologies?
No. Why would you present a racist ideology within the curriculum, though? I don't understand that.
Because do they present a sexist ideology within the curriculum? Do they present a cultural ideology within the curriculum? They do. They present various ideologies. That's like, it's a discussion to talk about all of the isms in that unit. And you're going to present one side and hopefully get debate. That's the nature of the course.
What if there is no student who has their own formed opinion on this already?
That's a danger.
And you start bringing this up, and then you don't bring up the opposite side.
Well, that's a danger where students don't have another opinion. And you want to try and provoke. Like, that's what, as educators, we no longer have all of the information. This is smarter than all of us. And so what we need to do is be able to inspire you, provoke you, cause you to question, be critical thinkers about different ideologies. You know, one of the things that I subscribe to as a principal is an email that I get daily called Polar News. Do you know what Polar News is?
I don't think I've heard of it, no.
No. So Polar News is where you get opposite sides of an argument. Right now, what's been really popular in the last 3 months is Donald Trump this, Democrat that. But there's other stuff that's out there. You know, you get all, you know, Kim this and China that. Like, you get all of these opposing views, and the media presents them, and you get the opportunity to read them and figure out where you stand. And that's what we want to try and encourage in students. That provocation and inquiry.
So the information that was presented in the the sheet,
Mhm.
the actual worksheet,
Yep.
said that this was actually written as an anti-racism material that has been used in the United States and in Canada.
Yeah, that's what that author says.
Okay.
Just like Jay Fries presents his stuff as anti-racism.
But I didn't see where the information was that this is a discussion whether, for...
It's on the question sheet right here. It says, which of these 26 conditions of white privilege do you disagree with, and why? Which of these 26 conditions of white privilege do you think are most, she's misspelled it, most influential? Like, what do you agree with? What don't you agree with? Why?
And they're asking for, the way the questions are, they want you to tell other privileges that you have. So I don't see that this is actually a discussion base. They want you to find situations where you actually do have white privilege in the course of your daily...
Well, it says, what do you agree with and why? What do you
Nancy?
disagree with and why?
Right. I understand that one, right? What's the effect of denial surrounding the advantages men gain from underprivileged
Okay,
women?
so that would be from an author's perspective. So read this, and what does the author say men gain by this?
But that's not saying...
It's asking it.
It's asking...
As a fact.
Yeah.
It's asking, what did the author say?
It's saying, what is the effect of denial? It's not saying...
According to what this author says.
But that's not what... Okay.
You have to infer. Like, those are an inference. Like, those are inference skills that hopefully you have.
Well, no, because...
She hasn't said here, this, according to my thinking and all of the world, what she's saying is, what is the effect of denials surrounding the advantages that men gain? So you read this and you find out what the answer is. And this is all according to one person's perspective. This isn't the gospel. This is just one person's perspective. Just like Jay Fries has one person's perspective. And
it would have made me feel better.
There's nothing that says...
But it would make me feel better if there was a counter that was in the teaching instead of this and saying, okay, here are the questions. There is no other side to that. So to me, there is no opportunity for discussion unless the person goes out and does the research on their own.
Well, there would have been, had you been in class again, Logan.
Unfortunately, when you keep saying that, he does have Crohn's, and
I understand that. I understand. But if he was in the class, he would have heard the debate that was going on and the people that protested. A lot of the guys took offense to this. It's not just you. And there's a discussion about it. And that's what makes a class interesting, is when you can provoke that kind of emotion out of the students. Like, think about the best classes you've had. There've likely been debates where people are going back and forth. And that's what you want to do. And that's, like, you present something, you don't present it as this is right. You just present an ideology and you have a discussion about it. And that's why, in asking these questions, it's provoking your thinking. What do you agree with? What don't you agree with? Why? Can you substantiate why you don't agree with it? And can you substantiate it with fact rather than just emotion? I don't agree with it because I don't like it. Like, if you can substantiate it with fact, now, like Jay Fries backs his stuff up with lots of facts. And that makes for a good discourse.
Now, was that presented to the class, or was it just a discussion afterwards?
Which was...
When I sent the information
I have no idea what the teacher did in terms of whether she showed that to the class or not. I don't know. I had a discussion with the teacher on the day you sent this, and I asked for the materials. And then I sent you the email saying, I didn't...
So this is my question. This is actually something that came from the Board of Education, my understanding is, that's been implemented in teaching all across Ontario. Is this a discussion? Is this supposed to be an open for discussion on her writings, or is this implemented for an anti-racism
It's part of the curriculum, and you get to select what you want and you talk about it. It's all about the isms, whether it be sexism, racism, ageism. That whole unit is about the isms, and they want to have kids talk about what's right, what's not right, get their thinking out there, and be able to support their thoughts.
If you want to have a discussion, though, wouldn't you want to provide both sides of the argument?
So if she was to provide both sides of every argument, would you enjoy all of that reading?
Yeah, I mean, you could have different things. You could have like PowerPoints or something, or maybe like that is the video.
Like the strategy that's often taken is just present an argument and see what kids have to say. If kids have further stuff to add, or they want to take it in a certain direction, then it's up to the teacher to move in that direction and try and support those arguments for them, or those findings, or oppose them and get them to think even more critically. Like that's the nature of that course. That course is supposed to, and in particular that unit, is supposed to really poke at you and cause you to say, where do you sit? Where do you stand? Because everybody will have a stance on any one of those isms. You know, nobody's going to say all of them are correct or incorrect. You know, ageism. Does everybody have to retire at age 65? Is that right?
No.
Well, why not?
Because not everybody's the same. And you shouldn't be classifying a group by whatever they are. So shouldn't be classifying somebody just by their age, or shouldn't be classifying somebody just by their race.
Excellent. And you see, that's why now you present one article that says, you know, you have to have people retire by this age, they lose their driver's license by this age, they're in an old age home by this age, and then you hope that you can stir up some conversation, some dialogue. And that's how you get the formation of opinions. You get good critical thinking. And that's the tack that's taken in that unit.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that this one is...
Well, it's sensitive. For whatever reason,
Well, I think
you've taken offense to it.
Well,
and
no,
it's just like
it's not just offense to it. I think that is a very dangerous piece of paper to be sending to children at 17 years old when we're seeing the effects of that writing right now in the States.
It's very influential, and you do see the colleges.
It's shutting down conversations. It has pitted them against us, and that's why I felt so strongly that it should be having a counter argument and shown in class.
And it was. Like, they had a great discussion in the classroom.
Okay, you're saying a discussion,
right?
But
what if there isn't somebody who does feel that way? So it's just going to be like the information is presented as fact, and there is no counter discussion because nobody does feel the opposite way.
Right, and that's a dangerous thing. And you would hope in this sort of a class, in that sort of unit, that doesn't happen. And apparently it hasn't. There have been great discussions on every one of the isms that have taken place. Nobody's felt completely one way or another.
But like the material itself, you should.
I understand what you're saying. You should.
Opposing material.
I understand that you think both opposing sides should be presented. We have students that take 4 courses, and if we inundate them, say there's 9 isms that you look at in class. Maybe there's only 7. I don't know. There's somewhere between 7 and 11 that you can explore in that unit. But if you provide 14 readings or 18 readings or 26 readings on top of having to do other courses, it's going to get to the point where our students are overloaded.
I
And that's why
grew
you
up in the
present-
80s. I know overload.
Right, and that's why we present one. Okay, now let's have a discussion.
Perhaps it's harder for me because of her remark.
I agree, and she acknowledges that wasn't appropriate. She shut him down with the remark. She recognizes that, and I told her that. I said, "There's no room for that. You can't silence a student voice. You want to encourage them to have a voice, whether you agree with it or don't agree." She goes, "Well, I don't have an opinion on it. It's not like I disagree. I just was trying to point out." I said, "Yeah, but you got defensive, and you silenced him. You can't do that." And she acknowledged it.
Mm-hmm.
She recognized what she did. She knows that it was wrong.
All right. Well,
And that's, that was the discussion that we had over it. Like,
Yeah.
I asked for the whole, I wanted everything brought in as a
Yeah.
result. And you will notice that this sheet looks different from the sheet you got, doesn't it?
I don't know. I can't say I memorized all the questions. It looks
Well,
similar.
It's identical in terms of the questions.
Oh, okay.
But what you wouldn't realize is that it wasn't a digitally produced sheet. It was a sheet from the 90s. And I was like, I need this redone. And so she gave me this, and I said, this is how I would like it to look. I need space between there. I don't need it all in bold. I need the spelling mistake corrected. And she was like, oh. So she was a little bit surprised that I read through it and that I noticed, because even this, she should be providing you that stuff digitally, right? You can't hand something out that's from the 80s or 90s. It doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good. And so I had her redo that as a result, because I don't accept that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not part of my expectations here when I'm, how can we profess to be in the 21st century when you're providing material that's 20 years old? Update it. And so she had to go back and update that stuff for me. And then I still corrected it yet again.
all right. Well, I guess that's pretty much it.
Yeah, there's
That's all I
what you need to understand, Logan, is that there's no right or wrong, especially in a course like that. What you got to be able to do is just be able to defend yourself. And if you can defend yourself, you're going to expand your critical thinking skills. And that's what's important. If you're always looking for the opposite argument, explore the Polar News. It's an awesome little email I get. It takes me 15 minutes in the morning. I just sit there and I read, and I get 2 synopsises of, Comey's argument, Trump's argument. You can go back and forth on all
Exactly.
different... Right.
But that's
That's
exactly
kinda how
what
it should be,
that's
actually.
what
But
we're
I have
talking
the
about.
time to do that. I'm not doing 4 courses during the course of the day.
Well, don't you think you could maybe... That is a pretty decently sized article, so maybe you could split that in half by, summarizing it, and then you could summarize another half of it.
It's a good suggestion. It's a very good suggestion. If you look at literature that's being produced today, it's being produced more to students' liking, where it's the Twitter world, it's the Instagram world, and impress me in 140 characters and I might read it. And they shorten all of the stuff down. They don't have long-winded stuff. And there's most of the stuff's now on YouTube. Just like what you sent me. A couple of YouTube links,
Yep.
3 minutes. I can get that argument in 3.5 minutes faster than I can read that argument.
That's why I sent it. It's
Right.
just a lot easier.
Right. And
sometimes.
that's, Mayfield's not perfect. We're moving.
It's actually, when you talk about the workload, I don't know why it's changed so much, but we used to have a lot more in-depth work and I'm sure you did too, when we went to high school, than what they do now. And
Well, we went to school till grade 13.
Yeah.
So there was an extra year in there. and they've cut it down to grade 12.
I
so
did 12, actually.
You got to cut everything down and condense.
I was the year that they started doing 12.
Right, and that's, it's not as much as you would think. It's pretty close to being identical, and that's the sad state of education, is that the curriculum that we're studying was developed in the 1800s. There's been a few changes. There's been a few changes since the 1800s, and I'm trying to, Logan may know, I'm trying to ruffle some feathers here and change some things up.
Yeah, he's on board. If you want some,
yeah, if you actually want the curriculum changed myself.
Well, A, the curriculum, B, the pedagogy, and C, the assessment. Like, this stuff about grades is...
You talk about homework, you got, like, the fighter here.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't like kids having homework because today, again, this is one of the isms, you have some kids will take home the homework and parents, older siblings will do the work for them. Enable the kids. And we got to eliminate homework and have the kids doing it in front of us so that we know it's being done by them. But, that stuff happens way back in grade 1, 2, where parents are doing projects. Kids get sent home a bunch of popsicle sticks, make a bridge, and Dad gets out the glue gun and puts together this
monstrous mansion.
And you know that no kid did this.
Yeah.
And the kid goes back, and the teacher's like, seriously?
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, I'm not a proponent of homework. I've not ever been a proponent of homework because I think we need to push the kids in school.
And you already have so much time in school. You need time outside of school
To be a
find
kid.
who you are and
To be a
find
kid.
your passions.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. No argument. Okay?
Yep. All right, well.
Okay.
But I'm one person trying to move 115. So don't expect 115 to move tomorrow. Some are. But it'll take time. You can't turn the Titanic around on a dime.
Yeah. All right, well, we've taken enough of your time.
No, I enjoy the conversation. You have a wonderful day.
Yes,
Thank
nice
you very
meeting
much.
you.
Wonderful to meet you. Take care.
Don't miss the bus. Where are you going?
Actually, let's go this way. I think it might be faster.
All right.